You're listening to the Stable Management Podcast, where we discuss the barn management topics that you're passionate about.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stable Management Podcast. Our goal is to bring you a real-world look into the parts of horse farm management that you love or hate most, such as stall bedding, farm equipment, and pasture maintenance. During each bi-monthly episode, we'll be joined by an expert guest who shares their experiences with and perspectives on an important stable management topic. I'm your host, Hailey Kerstetter, and my guest today is Emil Spadone, owner of Redfield Farm and Horseflight. Thank you so much for joining me today, Emil. So today we're going to be talking about running a successful equine business. So I'm wondering if you can start off by telling me how you got started in the business and what inspired you to start your own businesses.
I didn't start quite as young as a lot of kids. You know, you hear stories about kids starting at 3 and 5 years old. I didn't start riding until I was 12. And we moved from sort of a city-ish area to a more country area, and there was a riding stable right down the street from us called Coppergate Farm. It was owned and run by Tom and Lila Florio, super great people. Still really care about them many years later. They gave me an opportunity to be a little bit like a working student in the sense that, to be honest, I almost lost interest a little bit. Just once, twice a week, I was getting a little bored of it, and they offered me to help out in the stable, and I really found that much more fun. You know, they had straight stalls and school horses, and we got to take the horses out and water them in the trough, and clean the stalls and pack them up. And so that was. Then I was hooked, and I was really hooked on riding and the horse, and that's all I really wanted to do. So I thought to myself, I want to make a living at this. I want to make this a career. So that's really what started me. And I didn't start my own business straight away. I was a working student when I was young, and then I got a few jobs, and I worked for different professionals as a rider and as a coach. And then slowly, as I developed a relationship with a few different clients, I decided to go out on my own because I knew I wanted to stay in this business. So I became a trainer. I opened up my business and had a few clients, and sort of it went from there.
So can you tell me a little bit about what some of your early challenges were when you first started your businesses?
Challenges would probably be managing, your books and your money. That's something that, I would always recommend kids maybe go to school for, because I didn't do that. I was sort of hooked on this. So I did high school, and then I did a little bit of community college, and then I kind of dove right into this. So, and, starting out showing and blue ribbons and, all that is important because it kind of builds your name. But you have to learn from an early age that it's a balance between loving horses, loving showing, loving training and teaching, and also making a living, because you have to do billing. You have to charge your clients fairly, but you have to make money. You have to pay your staff. You have to pay your hay and your feed bill, to pay rent if you're renting stalls. So, that's something that maybe you don't think of, early on, especially if you're working for somebody. It's in a way it's easy. But, when I was just a rider, I could bring my helmet and my stick and my boots, and I have one little trunk, and, you kind of arrive and you do your job and you leave, and you don't have none of the worries of running a business come into play until you actually start your own business. And then you realize how many things are involved, not only just the hay, the feed, the bedding, the stabling. You talk about insurance, workman's comp, payroll, like all those different things come into play. And, that can be a little bit challenging, learning how to do all that and balance it all out, because you could hire out for all that stuff, but then, obviously that when you're first starting out, most people can't afford to, hire out for that. So you better know how to do it yourself.
Definitely. So now that we've touched on some of the challenges, let's talk a little bit about success and how do you define success in the equine industry, and how has that definition changed for you over time?
Well, I guess it's changed over time in the sense that, early on your success is when you win ribbons and you feel like you're riding well and you're getting champion and whatever. But overall, as I've gotten older, success is living life. In my mind, I'm so lucky because I get to do what I would have as a hobby anyway. I get to do that for my living. So to me, that's success. That I've built this life for myself and also for my staff. I feel like the people I've worked with for, I've had people that with me for 20 plus years, and they're like family to me. And also I get a sense of success and good feeling of success that, I'm helping them, and they make a good living and they raise their families, and it all sort of comes from the mothership, if you will. Redfield is the mothership, and it's helped a lot of people. And then also then we grew, as Redfield grew and it became successful and I started importing and selling horses, then the idea came to start an import-export business, and that's where Horseflight came into play. That was started, a bit later in 2007, but that's also now, I love that business and I love the people that work for me there. They do an amazing job. They are now building families of their own and raising families and also living a successful life by loving what they do and doing it, doing their hobby as a job.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that larger picture of success, because I feel like some people do place quite a bit of their identity and their picture of success on the ribbons. And it's really hard to feel successful and feel content with what you're doing when, your horse just doesn't have a good day or that show just doesn't go your way.
Something that way you're done. It's a little bit of a shallow goal, really. And you just have to learn as you mature that there are other things. And for sure, you're not going to always win. You're going to, much more often lose than you are win in this sport. But it's the whole journey. It's the whole process. And that really makes the difference,
For sure. So obviously your client base is crucial to the success of your business. Can you tell me a little bit about your strategies that have helped you to build a loyal client base in this relationship-driven industry?
I think that's a key word, relationship. You have to have good relationships with your clients. And I think that it's very important, that you are honest and that the clients can look to you for solid advice and you advise them the way that you would yourself. And obviously people make mistakes and I'm not always right, but I really have my best intentions in mind for them. And I think I portray that in my actions. And and it's not just the clients that you train, it's also clients, because a big part of our business is buying and selling horses. So I have many people, and I honestly have to maybe get a little bit more with the times than some of my younger staff that are working with me. They are starting to use a little bit of Instagram and Facebook and, other media marketing outlets that I never used, because I always just have a, Rolodex, if you will, of people that when I have the right horse, that's always the key. Finding the right horse is the hard part. Clients are not hard to get if you have the right horse. And then I always go back to my loyal clients, people that I work with all the time, that I am excited to sell a horse to. I know that they're going to do a great job with it. Nothing feels better than when it goes well. And it doesn't always go well. That's part of life. But nothing feels better than when you sell a horse to their first show and, it does well and mom and dad are happy and the kid is happy and the trainer's happy. And, it just feels great when somebody calls you and says, oh, thank you so much. That this is a wonderful animal that you helped us find. And it's really the right match for my son, my daughter, or, whoever. So that's important. Is to the relationship, I think is really, really important.
Definitely. And then people also know, once they have a good experience or they know someone who's had a good experience with you, Emil's the guy to call if I need a horse because, he'll be honest with me and, he'll be able to help me find something that's going to suit my needs.
That's important with everything, whether you're a car dealer or a truck dealer or a dealer or a horse dealer, after the sale, and obviously our intentions are always to, make a wonderful connection, horse and rider, and have everything go beautifully, but it doesn't always go that way. And what we pride ourselves on is after the sales service. So if for some reason it's not totally working, we work together. We try to figure it out. If, of course, it would be great if every customer called you up and said, I want, I need this horse and money's no object, but that doesn't happen. So many people love this sport and love this industry and they want to be able to participate. So, we work with them. We work with them if they're on a budget. We work with them if they have to have a payment plan. We work with them if it doesn't go well. We take the horse back for training. We take the horse back to sell. We take the horse back and trade them with a different one. We do something. We don't ever just walk away. We want to be there when it goes great, and we also are there if it doesn't go. So that, I think, is very important. People know that about us. So that gives them a feeling of confidence and security, when they purchase.
You can enjoy your favorite equine videos all in one place with Ride TV, the ultimate equine streaming platform. The newly relaunched Ride TV has all the series you love, like Rockstar Vets and Mini Horses, plus top-tier training videos and event footage from barrelracing.com and Horse and Rider On Demand. Whether you're ready to relax with your favorite series, binge watch competition footage, or train with a world champion, subscribe to Ride TV today for only $19.99 to see where your ride takes you. Visit ridetvgo.tv to subscribe.
So you mentioned a bit ago that, this is your hobby, it's your passion, and you're just lucky to be able to also do it for your job. So can you talk a little bit about how you balance your passion for horses with the practical demands of running a business?
Yeah, it is a balance, because I also started, as we became successful and we grew a little bit bigger, I started breeding. And I really, really enjoy that. And I keep trying to, keep that a little bit more in the spectrum because I have to tell you honestly, it's hard to make a profit breeding because it's expensive. It's expensive to breed and to raise these babies. And, it's quite different than thoroughbreds. Thoroughbred people that are in the industry to make money, they sell them as weanlings and yearlings and 2-year-olds, and the Kentucky Derby is for 3-year-olds. But for us, this is a much longer process, and we most people don't really even they want horses that are 5 and 6 years old, and if you count the 11 months that the mom's in foal, you have a 6-year-old, you've got 7 years invested in that animal. So it's a long-term process, but it's fun and we love it. We love it when they're born. We love to see them grow up. We love to see them turn into something. And they don't, most are not superstars. I mean, you're lucky if you get a superstar, but if they can just turn into nice horses that make somebody happy, they could be a 4-H horse. And if they do their job and they make a kid happy, then we're happy to raise them, So we, of course, we dream that, it's going to be the next, Derby Finals winner or Grand Prix winner. But we're also happy when they just turn out to be nice horses and we find, their person for them. So that's a fun part of the business. I don't think it's super profitable, but, otherwise we just balance it with, we work hard and we try to, we have to make money. That is part of our job. And we have a lot of mouths to feed in our business and our family of Redfield and Horseflight. So we work hard and we, try to do our jobs well. And we really try to make a profit so that everybody can survive and live a happy life. But, the good part is we love doing it. We love going to these shows. We love Horseflight sponsors a lot of shows. I'm always getting talking to from our accountant that we sponsor more than we should because our balance is a little bit out of whack, But we love giving back. We like to sponsor. We like to put our brand name out there. And, many shows, you'll see a Horseflight jump or Horseflight has the back numbers or we do a coffee stand in the morning. We do something to try to give back a little bit to the industry.
Definitely. So when you have so many different aspects of your business, what tools, systems, or habits have helped you to stay organized and efficient in your day-to-day?
Simplest answer for that is to have good staff. Like, I am so lucky and blessed, if you will, that I have such good staff. My managers are so organized and they help me in every which way. We have it divided up pretty well. We have a show road manager, we have a home barn manager. So we have different little divisions, if you will. Then I sort of have the master list of every division, and they all report to me. And I like to be in the know for every. I don't care whether it's a blacksmith. I don't care if they have scratches, if they lost a shoe, or if it's something more major and the vet has to come. The horse is lame, whatever it is, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. I like to be in the know, and the person that's in charge of that division will let me know. And mostly, I have to say we make our decisions together, and I believe enough in my people that if they want to follow a certain way, then I usually go with their thoughts. But I just stay informed by my people, and then we just sort of do it together. We put our heads together and we forge on, and luckily it really works.
For sure. So we're going to jump back in time a little bit because I would like to know what's one piece of advice that you wish someone had given you when you started out in the industry and that you might give someone who's just coming into it.
Pretty much. I've gotten a lot of advice through the years. You have to follow your own lead a bit. Like, people give you advice and you have to take it for, who's giving it to you, and take it for what it's worth. And then you have to decide whether you're going to follow that in or not. And I mean, to be honest, in general, I chose the advice to follow. You know what I mean? Because many, many people give you advice, and then you just have to choose yourself which advice you're going to take, which advice you're going to follow.
I think that's good advice in itself, because it's really hard to stay true to yourself and your mission when you hear so many different perspectives almost every single day. So, I mean, staying true to what feels right to you and what's going to work for you and your horses and your people is really important. So we are already towards the end of our time today. That went by really fast. But I have one more question that I ask to all of my guests about their respective topics. And that would be, what is one common misconception that you often hear about running a successful equine business?
That people are making so much money. I think that people that are in this business, the hardworking trainers and the hardworking riders, they're in this business because they love it. They love the horse, they love the sport, they love the industry, they love the people that are in it. And I think it's a misconception to think that we're all getting rich, because we're rich in the fact that we can really enjoy our lives. We're rich in that sense, but I don't think we're rich in the monetary sense as much as people think.
Very good point. So that's all the time we have for today, but it's been awesome talking with you. Thank you so much for joining me today, Emil. And thank you all for listening today. Please remember to like this podcast, subscribe, leave a review, and recommend the Stable Management Podcast to a friend.